I'm Damo Rin and I'm in Brisbane, Australia, about to fly to China for a job teaching English. So I had these two smaller bags and supposedly I'm only allowed one big bag. So they reached into the discarded luggage pile, the attendant, and they gave me this for free. I can see why it's free. No one would want it, but it makes me feel like I'm probably appropriating tacky, glamorous old lady culture or something like that. Anyway, I'll see you in China. I don't know what this brand is selling, but it's something ho-like. Yep, definitely ho-like. This restaurant's called Kung Fu. If you have a food fight in it, are you Kung Fu food fighting? I live in Luoyang, China. It's about 4 hours by fast train from Beijing. It's kind of more northern central city. And they have a pretty big public bike hiring scheme. So let's check it out. We're gonna be here a while. You might want to grab a drink. It's just bike after bike after bike after bike. You can tell I'm not walking in a circle because the scenery's changing, though it does look pretty similar. I feel a bit like Goldilocks. This one's too white. This one's not wide enough. This one's seat's too tall. This one's seat's too small. So these are all part of a government bike hiring scheme, and if you have like a electronic pay system connected to your phone, you can swipe it on the barcode. So they're all government bikes owned by the town. So there's a lot of town bikes in Luoyang. Downtown shopping mall. Let's check out the toilets. Michael Jackson is the image representing masculinity. I showed my friend a picture of this and he didn't even realize who it was. And I'm like, well, that's not the first time Michael Jackson was unrecognizable. Maybe if he was grabbing his crutch, then you know who it was. Or a little boy's crutch. Do they celebrate Christmas in China? Well, shops do. But it's a bit weird. Kind of like this postmodern Christmas tree. And Santa plays the saxophone. So in the early 90s, China opened up its consumer markets to the West. And at the same time in the West, the saxophone was super popular. Kenny G, a saxophonist, was a major recording artist, and he had many Christmas hits. Even Bill Clinton, the president of America back then, played saxophone. And so Christmas and the saxophone came to China at the same time. And now, in China, Santa plays the saxophone. This shop's Christmas display strikes me as extremely creepy. It's as if Santa's elves are laying siege to the place with sacks of dynamite. And over here, Santa's sneaking by. Is he afraid of waking you or about to detonate? Well, it's pretty obvious where BMW stole its logo from. Many people think that because of communism, the Chinese don't practice religion. But here at my Chinese friend's apartment, you can see clear evidence of the worship of God. Yep, clearly this is an item of worship. Definitely the worship of God. This is the line to buy a ticket for the train to go to the Great Wall. One of the most popular attractions in the most populated countries, on the busiest holidays of the year, Chinese New Year holidays. In other words, it's going to be really painful. Crowded train. This is my seat. Tens of thousands of people died building the Great Wall. Tens of thousands more died visiting it. Now we're about to get off. Okay, here we are at the closest station, Bardeling Station, to the part of the wall near Beijing. We're off the train, off to the wall. I'm basking in the glory of the Great Wall. I'm trying to buy a ticket, and so's everybody else. I'm on the Great Wall. I'm on the Great Wall. The Great Wall. I'm on the Great Wall. It's like watching a line of ants. Check it out, it says no graffiti. Look at all the graffiti. The wall is, you Google it, thousands of years old. And cunts are writing all over it. Imagine if they did that to the Mona Lisa. What a mug. Mug. Gourd being honoured. So I was walking past this toy store in China, and check it out, it's an Adolf Hitler playset. There he is. He's doing the Zig Heil here. And ironically, the company is called Enlightened. This is my hotel lobby's front door, the way to get in, and it's broken. And that's whatever, but everything's always broken in China. I'm in my hotel, in my Shanghai hotel's bathroom, and the shower sucks, and it's such a typical example of how so many things in China are these cheap, shitty, crappy, they don't work, they're useless. I had a shower in my apartment where I lived for 6 months, and it was similar. I mean, it sucked as well. I'll go into that later, but I'm going to show you why this one sucks. And you see this in China with all it, pretty much everything, everywhere is just cheap crap. Like here we go. Now, firstly, you can't tilt that up because it just slides back down. You can't tilt it up. You can turn it left and right. The water's coming down and it goes straight into this tap. So you can't get underneath this tap, this faucet. You can't get underneath the faucet because the tap is too long. So you can't get wet that way. You can't have a shower that way. And if you tilt it to the left, only this side of your body gets wet. And if you tilt it to the right, well, now the other side of your body gets wet. So, like, that's just a giant piece of crap. And you got to change sides to have a shower, and you can only wash one side of your body at a time. In my apartment, the tap was the shower. It was right up against the wall like that. So it was very similar. You could only wash one side of your body. The front of one's this side and the back of that side. That's all you could wash. And that's China, man. Like, everywhere you go, just cheap shit. And you see, it's not. You see Beamers, you see Mercedes, you see Ferraris. There's money here. But I tell ya, there's a lot of just cheap shit. Chinese New Year 2019. It's Chinese New Year 2019, the year of the pig. And here in Beijing, they've decided to celebrate it by not letting anyone off the train before they budge their way on. And if you don't believe me, pigs fly. was pretty scary, but Chinese New Year. So it's all really smoky now because someone let off this illegal firework. I'm pretty sure it's illegal, but good for him. I appreciated it. I just hope it's actually firecracker smoke and not shitty pollution. You never know. So they just light stuff up. I think it's like a New Year's tradition. Some guy. I have a theory that they're burning the calendar from last year. Another book burnt calendar burning guy. New Year's Day 2019 Chinese lunar calendar. So all the buildings are showing some pretty cool, oh, we got some fireworks. There's some fireworks happening, and the buildings are all lit up, saying a bunch of characters, Happy New Year, things like that. This is Qingdao. It's a port city. So you can see the blue. Oh, I like those balloons. Balloons on the buildings. I'm in a forest of light. Or is it a city? Or am I in a war zone and the shit's going down? No, I'm not. Sorry. I'm at Longmen Grottoes. It's New Year's holiday week. So this is one of like the 5 super historic sites in China. So I had a great time at Longmen Grottoes. Statues were amazing. One of the biggest things I noticed was all the staring McClarys. Like me walking around as a 30-something Australian, I'm apparently more interesting than a lot of the ancient statues. Because it's a small city and pretty much everyone else is Chinese. So if you're a foreigner, people are gonna look. It reminds me of the time that I went to this zoo in China, in a smaller city, and there was a 6'5" white woman walking around, and everyone was staring at her way more than any of the animals. I guess she was probably trying to find the giraffe exhibit where she could feel at home.
Then we slip back.
So I noticed things like this. It's the military waiting room. And then behind here, this is probably literally called the people's waiting room. And you can see the cameras outside the military waiting room. They got 2 cameras right on those doors. And there isn't cameras in most other places. Or if there is, there's like one camera for a whole massive area. For the most part, yeah. China seems about as communist as Australia seems like a monarchy, which it technically is. But it's similar. But you do see things like that, the military waiting room. And I was in a hotel. Well, I was looking for a hotel in Qingdao, and I went to where all the big hotels were, like the Sheraton, all of this type of stuff. And what I noticed was that the biggest hotel in that area, well, the really big hotels in that area, the big names, the Hyatt, the Sheraton, all of these type of names, the Westin, they were right around this hill. But at the very top of the hill, the best piece of land had this hotel on it, which wasn't particularly big, but it was fancy looking, but it just wasn't that big. And I thought to myself, how can the very best piece of land in the whole city for hotels have such a small hotel? They wouldn't have one of these massive like hotel chains that were going to build a giant skyscraper. And so I go into this hotel just to see and to ask how much it was for a night. And the guy was like, really surprised that I was there, and he's just looking at me. He's like, there's no rooms available. And I'm like, yeah, but how much would it be if there was rooms? And then he was like, what? Sorry. I'm like, how much normally? How much? I know there's no rooms. How much normally? And he did more. And then he just goes, this is a hotel only for the military. And so the very best piece of land for the very best hotel is reserved for the military. So yeah, you see things like that. Here I am in the Temple of Heaven, about 30 years earlier than I figured I'd be here. So, I guess it's the Temple of Doom if you're a sinner. Anyway, I was lined up to get a ticket, gonna get a lesson in Chinese culture, and this guy pushes right in front of me. And I'm like, wow! Another lesson in Chinese culture. It's actually a pretty nice place. We're in Beijing. So I'm working for this really sleazy company in China. I know, a typical Chinese company. And like, I'm leaving because I got fired. And I didn't suck up enough. And the next guy's gonna live in the same apartment. And so I'm taking all my stuff. I can't take it back to Australia, but I can dump in the bin because they provided me with nothing, right? And so I had to buy a lot of things myself. And so I'm gonna take my kettle and just dump it in the bin. So the next guy, he can't have it. And then he'll hate the company because the same way I did. He'll realize, oh, we don't have any of these things. And he'll have to go out and buy it in China, which will be a big effort in this small city. It's actually really difficult to buy anything. And so, yeah, I can't leave it here because it'd be helping the company. He'd think the company was nicer and all that. Anyway, so I'm about to chuck out the kettle. And then I think to myself, well, why chuck out the kettle when I could just chuck out the charging part and just leave the kettle? And then he'd get really frustrated because he'd find a kettle and be like, oh wow, a kettle ain't have a cuppa. And then, yeah, next minute. So in China, like, you can't ever just wait your turn and be served. I was just downstairs in the hotel asking when to check out time. And this guy just comes and barges in while the guy's trying to answer me. He's like looking up in his dictionary how to answer me and just yells something at him. And then the attendant just yells something back. And it's always the case, like if you go to a restaurant or something and you're waiting to be served and you're in that line, then there's going to be a million people walking up to the attendant while the other people are in the line. And you know, it's a bit of an exaggeration to call it a line. The semi-organized chaos that is a line in China. You'll be waiting in it, and then there'll be other people who got served before just barging in front and yelling out a complaint about their meal or something, or who knows what they're yelling about. But it's always something, and it's always just... And then they just yell back. Yelling is conversation here. Yeah. Man. Oh, I'm so sick. Anyway, I'm going home today, back to Australia. And I was in IKEA to get a bathroom scale to weigh my bag, and I found this. It was on special, so I'm just gonna leave it under these clothes I'm chucking out. I'm just gonna leave the clothes here and then go to the airport and I'll hopefully give a laugh to one of the cleaners.